Rain, rain, go away from drought to a muddy mess. This week on Grow, an update on the rain delay affecting harvest. And the week's other big story, local farmer and state egg director heads to Washington to possibly join the Trump administration. Plus our weather forecast this week on Grow. As we kick off Grow, harvest stalls with heavy rain across Nebraska. The latest USDA report shows 12% of corn has been harvested. Normally we're at 20% by this time of year. On soybeans, 19% has been harvested, also behind schedule. 70% of winter wheat has been planted. Last year, 83% had been planted at this time. Growers wait for conditions to dry up a little bit. Our own NTV's Ify Ibo Simba has our story.
Cloudy skies and soggy fields. That's what many farmers are dealing with right now across central Nebraska. And these conditions putting harvest on pause for many of them.
We kind of went from one extreme to the other. We went from needing some water to having an abundance.
Phelps County Extension educator Todd Whitney tells me farmers who head out with too much moisture in the soil risk damaging their fields.
Are you going to be able to have truck traffic or grain carts, the combine? You definitely don't want to get equipment stuck in the field.
Instead of risking damage or harvesting soggy crops, Whitney says many producers right now are playing the waiting game.
You have to kind of do the weighing of being patient about waiting for the right conditions to be able to get on the fields, but not knowing, how much time you're going to have before the weather really changes, and then it's going to be a challenge to get the crop in.
Earlier this week, some areas got more than 4 inches of rainfall, and there's more on the way. But Whitney tells me the longer ripe grains sit in the field, the more risk you take.
Anytime we keep a crop standing in the field, there's always that chance of having more loss in the field. You can have ears drop, you can have shattering in the bean case.
And no harvest means farmers aren't bringing in the green.
They have bills to pay and interest that keeps on rolling too. And so as you have the crop standing in the field, then you have less that you can sell.
Thanks, Iffy. Well, as we've been talking about, wet weather has hampered harvest in a big way. Our poll question this week, how far behind would you estimate folks are in your area? Maybe you're still on schedule with harvest, or just a few days behind, maybe a week behind, or more than a week. Follow us on Twitter to cast your votes. And soybeans were the subject of last week's poll question. Thanks to Ethan for the suggestion. He asks, for all the people saying plant soybeans early, how early are you willing to go? The overwhelming majority say the insurance date. A handful say a week before the insurance date, and just a few say the corn insurance date. If you've got a suggestion for a poll question, let us know, and you might just see it right here on the air. Now to the week's other big story, as Nebraska's egg director is one step closer to becoming a member of the Trump administration. Greg Ibach has been nominated to be the USDA Undersecretary for Marketing and Regulatory Programs. He testified before the Senate Egg Committee, speaking of his family's farm in Dawson County.
As is the case with many farm operations in our country, our farm has weathered many difficult times because of persistence, communication, and teamwork. I look forward to bringing those same principles to USDA if I am confirmed.
Senators Deb Fischer and Ben Sasse praised that nomination.
Nobody outworks Nebraska, and nobody knows this better than Greg Ibach. Greg has built his entire career and his whole life on honesty and on hustle. He's the man for the job, and Nebraskans couldn't be prouder of the president's selection.
I am confident that Greg's experience leading the Nebraska Department of Agriculture, coupled with his real-world personal understanding of farm country, make him highly qualified to serve at the USDA.
Written testimony was then accepted through 5 o'clock Friday. After that, the Senate Egg Committee will vote on the nomination. It's not yet known when that will be. So with no major hurdles, Greg Ibach appears to be on track for confirmation. We caught up with Nebraska's egg director last week at Exarban. Ibach and his wife Teresa farm near Sumner, where they raised 3 kids, triplets, now grown and out of college. Director Ibach has been a fixture at 4-H livestock shows.
So 4-H was important to me as I grew up on our family farm. I was involved with 4-H, and whether it be the livestock contests that I participated in, or more importantly, the public speaking and demonstration and judging and meats identification contests that helped me develop skills and interests that led me to major in agriculture at the University of Nebraska. 4-H was really the basis for and a springboard for helping me develop my career.
Senators this week told Ibach they'd move expeditiously to get him appointed. Then Governor Ricketts will need to appoint a new state egg director if Ibach is confirmed. A major Nebraska co-op sounds the alarm on biofuels. Egg Processing Inc., AGP, opposes an EPA proposal to reduce the biodiesel requirements as part of the Renewable Fuel Standard. AGP says the policy is pro-growth and creates jobs in our communities. AGP refutes the notion the biodiesel industry lacks capacity, and they say the proposed reduction would lower the price of soybeans and jeopardize jobs and negatively impact soybean processing and livestock industries. And the American Soybean Association calls it a betrayal. The ASA says it looks like President Trump might break promises he made on the campaign trail. Soybean growers say scaling back the RFS endangers the livelihood of 64,000 workers. Total production of biodiesel was around 1.9 billion gallons last year, with feedstock and capacity to produce more. Another billion gallons of diesel was made from biomass that was imported last year. Farm income remains low, and uncertainty about ethanol may not be helping things. About a month ago, the EPA issued an emergency waiver allowing E15 to be sold in 38 states. That because of disruptions to the fuel supply due to hurricanes. It illustrates the challenges of getting E15 on the market 365 days a year. Those in the Nebraska ethanol industry, like State Ethanol Administrator Todd Sneller, want a waiver to allow those sales.
We don't think that that's a necessary impediment to remain in place. We should get rid of that impediment and allow more consumers greater access to ethanol fuels. In addition to that, we think this national standard, the Renewable Fuel Standard, is one that has helped move into the mainstream many more types of biofuels than otherwise we would have seen, including ethanol.
Given the current hard times on the farm, ethanol supporters say the federal policy creates too much uncertainty. A month after visiting Japan, Governor Ricketts is speaking out as frozen beef sales to that nation drop. The governor says exports dropped 26% following an increase in that country's tariff. Governor Ricketts said, quote, "Throughout my trade mission to Japan last month, I urged Japanese officials to come to the table to negotiate with the U.S. to lower their tariff so they could receive more of our quality beef products." This news also underscores the urgency for Congress and the Trump administration to negotiate a bilateral trade agreement with Japan to address the beef tariff rates as well as other agricultural market access issues. End quotes. In July, the country increased the tariff on frozen U.S. beef to 50%. The governor says Japan is the state's #1 export market for beef products.